I'm not knocking Conor Benn here, even though you'll have seen what happened when we tried to interview him, Nathan, at the event the other day. He didn't want to speak to talkSPORT. He didn't want to speak to me. Conor Benn's got a different approach to Amir Khan. Amir came into talkSPORT last week. He sat down with me. He wanted to be open about it. I know he's retired and the band's retrospective in terms of his career, but the wider implication for you of another failed drug test, does it, one, tarnish his career? And what about his statement on Twitter claiming Usyk had found him clear, essentially? And I'll clarify that. They said there wasn't enough in his system for it to be performance enhancing. And they also said they believed that he had not intentionally and recklessly taken a performance enhancing drug. What's your take on it all, first of all?
My take in regards to, for example, when they say, I'm not about Amir Khan here, I'm not about in general, when they say the amounts found weren't performance enhancing, that's a strange one, because what if they just timed it wrong? Or so there's a minuscule amount when it's found, but prior to that, in the weeks leading up, yes, there was past tests and so on. I'm not about Khan, I'm not about in general here.
Yeah.
See what it is for me. I come from a background of having Lance Armstrong as one of my sporting idols. I read his book. It's not about the bike and his cancer survival and stuff. And then he come back in 2008, and I was one of the biggest fanboy you've ever seen. I was going on YouTube, people like, he's a drugs cheat. I'm like, no, he's not. But then fast forward however many years, and it comes out that he was one of the biggest drug cheats that's ever been done, and passed, but never failed a test, other than one where it was retrospectively given a TUE. So, and then there was another one, Tyler Hamilton, his teammates. It's called The Secret Race. I think it was. Fantastic books, and it just goes into everything. And I just think to myself, well, if they were doing it, all the rest are doing it, but it only seems to be the ones at the top of the game. It's a very strange one, and I'd prefer some fighters that, if it is through an accident where it's just unintentional ingestion, whenever it's happened, just say that. I don't want it. Oh, it's the end of my career. Why would I do that? Well, that's almost like the exact reason why you probably would do it, because you are at the end of your career. You're not as fast as you once were. And again, I'm not mentioning anyone here. This is just in general. I just rather than say, listen, I don't know what's happened. It wasn't intentional, and then let whoever needs to sort it out, the board, UCAD, whoever, the authorities, to let it sort out.
In my view, I take your points, but even though he duped the American public and the US Postal Service, who sponsored the team for all those years, and it was all that money that went into them, they weren't punching each other in the head. They weren't able to render each other unconscious. They were cycling bikes. And I think, apart from the efficacy and the morality of duping the public and duping everyone and cheating, there's an inherent danger in boxing that cycling doesn't have. And listen, God forbid anything ever happened to you. Virtually every other week I'm working with Spencer Oliver, who did suffer a brain injury, and thankfully 25 years later you can't shut him up, and he's brilliant. But in fight sports, your weapon is your body. Your body is your weapon. Let's go back to Amir Khan defended his position. He's one of the, as Robert said to me last week, he's one of the most tested boxers in British boxing history because of his teenage years as an Olympic boxer, as the high-profile fights he had. Are we ever, in your view, going to stop the cheaters cheating? That's the point. Can they do it?
Lance Armstrong was the most tested athlete of all time, and they knew he was on drugs. They knew he was on it. The French knew he was on it. Everyone knew he was on it, but they couldn't catch him. It's because he had the doctors to do whatever they needed to do. I think it was Michel Ferrari. It was like the doctor, the doping doctor and stuff. That was like these guys just know what they're doing. They've got extortionate amounts of money. In the sporting world, that is. That's not localised to boxing. I'm saying in the sporting world to obviously do what they need to do to get an advantage, because, like you say, the boxing is different in the sense of it's a life and death kind of scenario if something happens, but that's why potentially there should be severe ramifications for things that have happened or performance enhancing drugs are being taken. But again,
while I've got you on, without trying to hammer Conor Benn, should he? I mean, it hasn't been announced. They were talking about Dubai on June the 3rd. Should someone in the situation of, say, like a Conor Benn, in your view, it's certainly my view, and I've given it many times on talkSPORT and elsewhere, my view is that he should do a hearing with UKAD before he boxes again. That's my view.
I don't know the ins and outs in terms of what happens as a result of that. Is it? I think I saw something about a statute limitation. So if you say
strict liability,
things,
the strict liability.
There you go, strict liability. So once that happens, they probably know the score in terms of what's going to happen with that. Then see, people are saying about the comparison of Amir Khan and Conor Benn. Well, there is no comparison. Amir Khan's been banned. So yes, he's retired, but if he wasn't retired, he is banned for 2 years. There's no comparison. He's been banned, and it was accidental ingestion. Whether it's intentional or not, he's still been banned. And yeah, it's like I said, there's lots of different things you can. Why would I defend myself and pay all this money for legal cases? Well, any business that speculates or accumulates, you've got to have that position. If you, it's a strange one.
Conor maintains his innocence. That's the key. And the reason they've gone through the loopholes, in my view, is he's maintained his innocence. He's strictly saying, I have not cheated, and he doesn't want to risk not having a career, I think. But, if he'd gone in front of the board and given his evidence, there is evidence that he didn't accept. I know, without going deeply into all of this again, the WBC gave him exoneration based on the number of eggs he'd been taking. So all of these things could go in front of UKAD's independent panel, and he could be back now.
But when were the WBC drug experts in testing and stuff? Like they're a boxing organisation or authoritative body, but they're not UKAD, they're not VADA, they're not WADA, they're not any of them. So it's okay having their opinion and maybe like the science and stuff, but for me, they can't be the ones that rule it. They can't say that he's been, because I think that's the avenue people went down. Oh, it's been cleared now. Well, it's not. It's just a boxing organisation that said it. But the actual VADA and the actual drug organisations haven't actually said that.